Okay, today is the day. We have ourselves the Losers Bowl going on at 7:30 p.m. PST. Losers Bowl or Loser Bowl? I think Loser Bowl rolls off the tongue a little bit better. The Edmonton Oilers are playing off against the San Jose Sharks. Now, the Sharks ended up defeating the Philadelphia Flyers a few nights ago, giving them their first win on the season. This game against Edmonton later tonight is more interesting because if the Sharks win in regulation, they will straight up tie the Oilers in the standings. And that is absolutely hilarious to think about. So I'm not going to go out there and say that I'm hoping or predicting any particular outcome. I'm just going to say whatever happens, happens. And for now, we have ourselves a very, very interesting kind of matchup. But the big news for today's Oilers-Sharks showdown is that Stuart Skinner is going to be the main guy. This comes off the heels of the Oilers sending Jack Campbell down to Bakersfield on waivers. He cleared, of course he did. There's no way that guy would have gotten claimed by anybody. But in Elliotte Friedman's most recent 32 Thoughts article from, when was this published? The 9th? So earlier today, 32 Thoughts, what will be Edmonton's next move? We have ourselves some interesting ideas as to where the Oilers will go with their goaltending conversation. This is all written about in thought number 3. A link is going to be in the description if you want to go ahead and read the rest of the article yourself. But Friedman writes in this third thought, during previous conversations with GM Ken Holland, he has always maintained that if you're going to make a change in goal, you must be convinced it's an actual upgrade when giving up serious assets. I don't think anyone would disagree with that philosophy, but there are times you have to grab your poker chips and say, screw it, I'm all in. Edmonton is there with so much at stake. McDavid and Draisaitl in their primes, nearing the end of their contracts. This is your window. There's no choice but to go for it, even if the price makes you want to hold your nose. Now this is where Friedman gets into the names, so buckle up here, kids. I do think the Oilers are contemplating things, looking at several options. There have been reports of Jordan Binnington, but unless the Blues are giving up on the season, they need to replace him and they won't be taking Jack Campbell. Binnington's also a $6 million cap hit, which would take quite a bit of finagling. Not impossible, but challenging. They've talked to Montreal, which doesn't need a goalie, about the possibility of Jake Allen, but I don't sense anything imminent. Watching Juuse Saros almost single-handedly beat the Flames on Tuesday reminds that he is the true prize. But in addition to any return, it might cost the team an 18-wheeler full of Alberta crude and media meal pierogies. Now, what the hell does that mean? What? Can I reread that sentence? He's the true prize, but in addition to any return, it might cost the team an 18-wheeler full of Alberta crude and media meal pierogies. What? Friedman, what are you talking about? We will see where this goes, including if the Oilers look at one major trade to deal with multiple issues. For example, a goalie and a defenseman, or a goalie and a depth forward with some edge. Another thing to remember is that Canada is on a lot of no-trade lists. So, these are the names that have been linked to the Oilers so far, and some of these are more hilarious than others. If we go over to Jordan Binnington and talk about his entire profile, 30 years old, $6 million AV goaltender till the end of 2027, and admittedly, he's been really strong this season. .919 save percentage, .258 goals against. He's been one of the better goalies in the NHL. But of course, Jordan Binnington is not the person he is because of his save percentage. He's the person he is, and he's the person that we know him as because he's Jordan freaking Binnington. This is the guy who chucks water bottles at opposing players in the hallway. This is the guy that throws hissy fits on the ice and just kind of does his thing in making sure that he's the most annoying brat that you'll run into every single weekend. He's a really weird hockey player, and that he is talented. He has had some very good stints. He's won a Stanley Cup for crying out loud. But the comments this guy makes, plus his overall personality, it's so unlikable and weird that if he goes over to Edmonton, this would be like the total main attraction of the circus festival that is the Oilers. You talk about the goaltending being bad now. I'm not saying it's going to get worse if Jordan Binnington goes to the Oilers, but it's just going to get more weird. There's going to be a more interesting personality there that was going to clash with Canadian media in such a strange way. We've already seen the peculiarity in how Jordan Binnington conducts his interviews. What more if he's on a struggling Oilers team, he's brought in to be the savior, and the Edmonton media, as harsh as they could be, is trying to rattle his bones. He's going to come out with even more quotes. You thought that the Leon Draisaitl pissy thing was already amusing? Jordan Binnington will give an entirely new set of quotes with every single interview he does, and it's gonna be hilarious. But of course, that cap hit is at $6 million a year. It's going to be tough to trade for that guy, and the Blues would need to get a goalie in return. They're not going to settle for a Jack Campbell. Let's move over on to Jake Allen for the Montreal Canadiens. He's at a .910 save percentage this year, .335 goals against. So even though the goals against is significantly worse than Binnington's, his save percentage is roughly the same. And that's mostly because the Canadiens have been so bad defensively this year, and they're relying on their goaltenders like crazy. It's almost an inevitability that the goals against average for Habs goaltenders are going to be bigger this year. Nevertheless, Jake Allen has been great, and his contract is a tad better than Binnington's too, $3.85 million till the end of 2025, so there's certainly a little bit more flexibility there. Binnington's also 33 years old, Allen is 33 years old, Binnington is 30, so younger. But if Jake Allen was the guy, I don't necessarily know if he's that much of a needle mover to quote-unquote save the Oilers from what they're going through right now. Like, sure, Allen has been on his A game this season. He has been great. I love Jake Allen. He's been great for years, to be honest. But is he at the stage in his career where he can carry a team on his back consistently to wins here on out? You could debate that because he's been good in Montreal, who haven't really been supporting him much, then maybe he is capable of that. I don't really know. But if he is in Edmonton, what exactly is the procedure there? How does that go? I want you to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, how Jake Allen would fare as a member of the Oilers. The entire media thing as well is not really applicable here because Jake Allen's mostly a normal guy who knows how to deal with Canadian media. He's been in Montreal for the past few years, for crying out loud. But he is indeed another option. Now, if you wanted to go to the final name here, the guy that I think is the best out of these three goaltenders, Juuse Saros has been fantastic the past few years. .919 save percentage last year, .918 the year before that. He had a .927 in 2020-2021. This year, he's at a .911, which is still great, but for a $5 million AAV goaltender who's smack dab in the middle of his prime, 28 years old, this is a pretty good deal. I think that Juuse Saros still has so much more to give in the tank. He is ready to carry a team to victory. If the Oilers are trying to look for their guy with no qualms about it, I think Juuse Saros would be the best fit. But, of course, because he is this gosh darn good, there's got to be a price there. I mean, are the Predators really ready to rush a guy like Yaroslav Askarov, for example, into the NHL? We'd seen the rumors earlier that they're interested in trading him away to try to bolster up their team in the now. If the Preds are ready to let go of a guy like Juuse Saros, who knows what the plan in net is going to be? Do you rush Askarov or do you try to get a guy like Campbell and get him going? A guy like Jack Campbell's going to be on your payroll for a while, so it's not necessarily the most beneficial move from a cap financial stability standpoint. But if a trade has to get done, a trade has to get done. So if you're a fan of any of these three, or four teams, I guess you could say, the Canadiens, the Blues, the Predators, and of course the Edmonton Oilers, what are your thoughts on the idea of your goaltenders heading over to Oiltown? If there is some sort of a trade, what is it that you would want from the Oilers to make this work? If you're an Oilers fan, what would you want to trade away? Jack Campbell has to be a given. Do you want to try touching Stuart Skinner? Would you be interested in having two goaltenders making about, let's say, $8, $9, $10 million total on your payroll? If that's the case, then hey, okay, Skinner's fair game. But if not, it's got to be Campbell. Campbell is a negative asset at this time. He's already cleared waivers, so what is the trade package that you make or propose to the Preds, the Blues, or the Canadiens to try to get this to work out? If you're a fan of any of these three teams, and what are your thoughts on the proposals that the Oilers could give? What prospects or defensemen or any other things would you be interested in getting in this type of a trade? Because, of course, goaltending is valuable, right? Like, we can't go out there and discredit that, and if Jack Campbell is coming the other way, that is a wildly negative asset that disrupts the flow and the balance of these trades. So, thoughts in the comment section below about the Oilers and their goaltending trade updates. I hope you enjoyed this video, and bye.